This part of our service is called Clarifying the Vision. It's our final part of this in 4 segments. And so what I decided to do is that, well, I'm going to bring up Team Vanderbilt so you can see who we are and kind of hear a little bit about what we do around here. So let me introduce my wife, Meg, if you don't know her. And Meg, why don't you introduce the rest of the team, kind of tell them what they do, but you know teenagers, they don't want to stand up here talking, so I'm going to dismiss them after that. But Meg, go ahead.
Absolutely. These are our little ducklings, we call them often. We have our ducks in a row, you get it? All right. This is Emmaus down here, the one wearing the dull shirt. He serves in a lot of areas. He's back in Blue Crew and Trailblazer. He's up at Ignition, helping to plan, and on the worship team here. He is on the adult worship team as well. He is on our video and production team, and he does a lot of what I like to call voluntold duties by his father. So he's here doing a lot of things behind the scenes. The shorty here in the middle is Elijah. He is also back in Trailblazer. He is one of your kids' small group leaders. He works here at Ignition doing crazy stuff. So if your kids come home messy or whatever, it's usually his fault. He runs games. He's also going on his first mission trip to Honduras. So we are excited about that. And this is Elena over here. She does preschool. She does Blue Crew back in Trailblazer. She's on the Ignition worship team, adult worship team. Did I get it all? I think so. Okay. She's the organized one. So usually she's doing some duties behind the scenes, kind of keeping things together and neat and voluntold again, different things. So they do a great job. I want you guys at least to see who all was behind the scenes and on the stage as well, and just get to hear some of their roles. So.
Yes. And so with these guys, if you don't know them yet, catch them after service one day. If you see them around town getting in trouble, give me a call. Okay. But I'm sure you guys do want to head on down. So why don't you slide on off. Thank you. Okay, now I get to spend a couple minutes with you and with Meg talking about this church, this Vision Church that God has created and is growing and expanding and doing amazing things with. And so with Meg, we've been in ministry together for 20 years. And if you know Meg, she did not grow up with intentions to marry a pastor and be, the first lady of a church, and everybody's looking at her as the pastor's wife.
I have my pearls today.
You have your pearls? Oh, those pearls? Those aren't real
They're
pearls.
fake pearls.
They're fake pearls. Fake pearls. But as God kind of crafted our story, it became apparent that he was calling us to lead a church. And so with Meg, for, again, 20 years in ministry, she's helped with kids. She has done so many, murals, painting, graphic design. I mean, pretty much when there's a spot that needs to be filled, she'll jump in and serve behind the scenes. Honestly, stage is not her comfortable spot. I think she does a great job up here, but this is not her spot. But she's behind the scenes in so many different things. And honestly, the biggest thing is being my confidant, being my biggest fan, being the one who is not just a yes man, but it will talk to me and say, Matt, why are you thinking that? Or why are you doing that? And honestly, guys, many times God bursts something new for Vision through her that comes through me, and I pray about it, say, yeah, God, actually, that is a direction I feel like you're taking us. I mean that with all sincerity. So first of all, let's start you talking a little bit about what you like about Vision, about what God's doing here, what he's designed here.
I love Vision is so real, and you guys saw that in the video. We were having church before all this was here, and I work with a lot of people that are not believers. I have people that come through my business that are not believers, and honestly, they are usually in pretty yucky places, and church is the last thing on their mind. And I love unashamedly that I can invite anybody I come in contact with, and I can just say, hey, meet me at church at 9:30 or 11:15. It doesn't matter what you wear. It doesn't matter who you bring, what you smell like, or whatever. I will be there to meet you. And I know with confidence that the host team's ready to be here, that people will greet them, that they will understand the music, they'll understand the message. And I love having a church where honestly real people can come and learn about God.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm going to do is, this is kind of interesting. We're going to start telling a story, and I'm going to finish it within my message, because I've been waiting all week to tell a story. So this story starts back in 2006. We're in our old purple minivan driving back from the beach, and Meg is reading this book. If you ever heard of Chip Ingram, definitely one of our favorite teachers in the country. She's reading this book called Holy Ambition. I'm like, what are you reading? What are you thinking? And she starts kind of opening her heart, telling me about a vision that God had placed in her heart that took basically broken kids and animals. and we start talking about this. So first of all, talk about this concept of holy ambition and how there's maybe something rooted in each of us that is a holy ambition.
Absolutely. There is something inside of you that gets ticked off. And you guys know that's a holy term, right? You can get ticked off. Something that bothers you, that disturbs you. It is some injustice. It's something that should not be. And when you hear that, when you feel that, you need to recognize, number one, if it's from God or something you saw on Facebook, right? But when God puts that in your heart, he wants you to do something about it. We shouldn't just shrug it off and think, oh, well, somebody else will fix that. No, he's calling us to fix that. And so I love the verse in Chronicles where it says, the eyes of the Lord roam to and fro, that's some translation, throughout the earth, looking for someone that he can strongly support. He's looking. He's not looking for the person who's the smartest and has the strategic plan and has it all figured out and has the bank account. He's wanting someone that he can strongly support. And all that person has to do and say, hey, God, that bothers me because it bothers you, and I'm willing to do something about it.
Right. So imagine you're riding with us in the purple minivan with our kids at that point. We're coming up on 6, 4, and 2. So you know by the end of vacation, you're stressed out, right? So we're heading home. She's reading this book, and she starts telling me about this vision she has of broken kids, animals, what could God do through her to help. And so imagine if God would have put like some type of computer or TV screen on the dashboard of the van right then and said, okay, Matt and Meg, let me show you some things that could happen. And God speaks, first of all, about a place called Bit of Hope Ranch. And so like, what are some of the things on that screen? And I'll tell you about Vision Church. But like on that screen, your holy ambition, what are some things that we have seen that maybe would have been on that screen?
Absolutely. I have a real burning passion for kids who have been injured, abused, or are not wanted. That bothers me. And I wanted to do something about that. And so, again, God came along and strongly supported in what we were going to do. And throughout the screen, if I could watch that screen, I could see kids that have come through that maybe they haven't been able to find help or acceptance anywhere else, and then they've been able to actually accept a hug or accept some direction in life. We have seen actually people come to Christ at our ranch. We've seen families put back together. We've seen abuse stomped out of households. And if I had just seen that starting out, I would have been like, great, God, yeah, let's do it. But, you know, he doesn't always show you the in-betweens, because there's also been a lot of hard days.
Yes.
There's been a lot of lonely days. There's been a lot of stress. And I feel like if God had shown you the whole picture on the screen, that I might have gone away running and just said, oh, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah. And, you know, I was in the Tuesday night board meeting this last week where we're hearing stories from our therapists. Stories like Meg is laying out. Stories like we had a couple years ago of a teenage boy who'd gone from foster to foster to foster because something inside of him was broken and he couldn't connect. And when he came to the ranch and connected with Lily, this horse, something changed in him to where now he became adoptable and he found a home. And I think, man, if I'd have seen that on a screen, if I'd have seen these things Meg saying on a screen, said, we got to go after that. And then God would say, okay, let me show you chapter 2 then. Chapter 2, this church you guys could plant. I'm like, plant? Man, I'm just like a staff member at a church at that time, managing a sports ministry, doing a great job of it. And God said, Matt, if you want to do more, then watch this screen. And the screen would have included literally over 100 people that have been baptized. People that have come to our church, been invited, and they find Christ. People that come to our church and say, man, I realized there was a void in me that I never even knew about, and now God is filling it. You come in here and you're finding people that now they feel like, man, I can come to church with tattoos and backgrounds and smells and lack of knowledge or lack of understanding. They said, I can come like I am. And I look on the screen and see all these things God was doing. And God said, does that excite you? Does that stir something inside of you? And we'd say, yes. He'd say, okay, then you've got a choice to make if you want to see that happen. And that's where I'm going today with my message. So I kind of wanted to set that up to stir something in you that say, this Vision Church, this Bit of Hope Ranch, it doesn't just happen to the lucky people or the smart people or the rich people, right? Not the rich people. That there's something in that holy ambition that God stirs in you and says, I want to do something supernatural if you go there with me.